Welcome to Transparency in Government. I'm Mary Wing Soares. Before I introduce my guest, I'd like to take a moment to thank Dottie Grover for beginning this show and giving our town leaders a forum to discuss what's happening outside of the town and school meetings. It would have been a disservice to her if the cable studio didn't continue the show, and I'm privileged to have been asked to step in. I hope this continues to be as she envisioned it. Today I have our new school superintendent, Scott Laliberte, with me. Thank you for coming, Scott.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is your first foray as superintendent, right?
That's true.
I know that Dottie had you on the show quite a few times with Nate as assistant superintendent, right?
Yeah, she did.
Getting you groomed for this position, eh?
Yeah, it's not a world we normally delve into in schools, so yeah. They had to take some time and make sure I was prepared.
Well, you know, you do a great job at the school board meetings, talking whenever you need to, and so I'm sure it'll be fine. Everything will go well. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are, you know, that's happening in the town right now. We know, first of all, C3 is a curriculum event that we have not every month, but almost every month, beginning in October, right?
Oh, it begins in October. It's the Curriculum Coordinating Council, which is C3. Originally, there used to be 3 separate committees. One that solicited community feedback and information from curriculum-focused areas. There was a second that focused on special education, and there was a third that focused on technology. And one of the things that we found was that there was a lot of nights out. It was a big commitment on the part of parents and community members to be able to know which group was meeting when. So a decision was made to combine those 3 into a larger forum, and so it continues on as such to this day.
And for years, it was held at different schools every single month, so that, you know, but now we're centrally located at the high school?
We decided that that would be a way, it would be easier for people to find us.
And remember where it is.
And remember, right. And it is central, so we meet in the high school library media center.
Okay, and the meetings start at?
They start at 4 o'clock. We've actually experimented with different times. I know we used to run them from 5:30 to 7. Got a lot of feedback from parents that was right in the dinner hour, and it was very difficult for them to make it. We did bring pizza and salad to try to draw more people in, but we actually found more parents could make it before than after. So we're sticking with that for now.
Right.
I've sort of handed over the facilitation. Facilitation of that committee is the assistant superintendent.
Okay.
It's been me for the last 3 years. Our new superintendent, Dan Black, comes to us from Keene, who's experienced in that position. Dan will be facilitating that group, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks, in October.
I look forward to having that first meeting.
Yeah.
So speaking of all of the things that are happening curriculum-wise and the community, we just got through talking with Kevin about growth management and things like that.
Right.
I know at the last school board meeting there was conversations about how quickly Moose Hill is filling up or has filled up, and what that might need as far as what we need to do either this year or next year.
Right.
So why don't we talk about what's going to happen with the schools?
It's probably the issue that causes all of us at the district office the most consternation at this point, which is watching that growth. And as you know, common sense would tell you predicting growth in a 5-year-old population is kind of a trick.
Right.
Because not only do you have a number of new families who are moving into existing homes where there's a turnover taking place, a very robust real estate market right now, but you also have some new developments, which I know I had the chance to listen to the conversation with Kevin. So we're watching all of that very carefully. The big date for us is October 1, which we're filming this just prior to, and that's when we do our official count with the state. We are going to be up again, and we'll know exactly next week. And we also work with a couple of different organizations that have software that actually helps us to project growth and student population into the future. And we'll be working with them within the next couple of weeks as well for us to get a clearer picture of of where we're headed. But a lot of it is, it's statistical analysis. It's not necessarily science
Right.
until we actually meet the students and meet the children as they come into town. We have to do that. As you mentioned, we're very concerned at this point about Moose Hill. We are at capacity because as we have really 2 programs housed there. We have our kindergarten population. We run 8 classes and 7 respectively, morning, afternoon. And then what we have in the second part of the building is our LEAP, or our Londonderry Early Education Program, which is preschool. We have some students in there who have been identified as being in need of special education support. We also have students, we balance that group out with others as well. That population is growing very quickly.
Now, do those children come in at 2.5 or at 3?
3 on their 3rd birthday,
Okay.
which is an interesting problem for us because
It could be
They
October,
turn
it could be
3.
November, it could be December.
whenever they turn 3,
Right.
they join us.
Right, but we learn about them earlier than that, don't we?
We do. We make every effort to get out and meet the parents and families ahead of time so that we can plan and we can project. But it is one of the reasons why we say at times that right now we're looking at possibly January being a time where we're going to have to add in another section of LEAP because we have a number of students who are joining us throughout the fall.
I know there's a lot of different options available. Right, and I know you're exploring those with the school board right now.
We are doing a lot of research right now. Our intent on the district side is to present the school board with a number of different options and the pros and cons of each so that they can have that discussion amongst themselves and obviously with the public as well so that we can arrive at the best decision. Right now there are no easy answers. Obviously, if we were looking ahead to next year with the 19 budget, we may need to consider something like temporary classrooms, modular classroom space as a short-term solution. From an educational standpoint, I'm not a fan of that as a long-term solution, and I've worked in other districts where a quote-unquote temporary classroom can actually stay in place for 10 years or more. That's not something that I would support, and I know our board is not supportive of that either.
Well, and
or
as
our
a
faculty.
town, we've been through that before. At
Sure
South School,
have.
we had modular classrooms, I think at North as well.
Right.
And it wasn't until, we passed some bonds and got some brick and mortar buildings put up. But, one of our school board members would tell you that we were very smart in how we did that and, used the same type of architecture in both places, so we weren't double paying for new drawings or new plans or anything else. So, we've been a very smart town as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I know that many of the bonds some of the bonds that we've had are dropping off this year, and have dropped off or will drop off. So we're in a good position if we had to go out and bond for additional building, brick and mortar.
We are in a good place, and as you said, I think that there have been some very wise decisions made. Moose Hill is actually designed to be expanded if that's necessary.
Is it designed to be expanded as a kindergarten as well as, because I know it was originally designed to be thought in the future it could be another middle school.
It could be. It's a very flexible design, and there's enough space surrounding it that would allow us to expand in a variety of different ways. We do have the structure such that a second floor could be added. And if you've ever been, if you walk around out back for any people in the community, there's a very large open area in the back. So there are a number of different options. And one of the things that we can consider, if we were to do an addition in the short term to add on for kindergarten purposes, anything that we would do would be consistent with that kind of a design decision. We would make sure that we would still have that option of converting it to a middle school someday if that were what we would need as a community. So.
After the school board meeting the other night when they were talking about the different options that they had, I was wondering, can you have a two-story kindergarten? Is it are kindergartners allowed to go up and down stairs or in elevators?
It's a good question. I believe they are.
Okay.
It certainly would not prefer that be the case.
Right,
But
but,
we would obviously research that as a
Right.
part of anything we would do. The second floor option was originally intended for, as you said,
The
a
middle
conversion to a
school.
middle school.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be very happy about little people running up and down the stairs. So we would avoid that, even if it were
Right.
allowable.
Okay, so that's the challenging news that we have, and the challenge that we'll face in the next couple of years,
Mhm.
which is wonderful too, because we have a
Right.
great school system. We embrace the learners when they come into the school system, so
Yep.
it's never a bad thing when we have more kids coming in.
Well, and it's a rare thing. I remind our staff as often as they'll listen to me. If you look at communities around us, I know the community that I worked in prior to arriving here in Londonderry has lost 30% or more of their student population over the last 10 years. So it is a nice problem to have. And as Kevin talked about earlier, we are growing in a way that is smart. And it's allowing us to keep a low tax base and also to expand opportunities for people to come here.
Right, we're not
That's
going to be
rare.
catching up. We're going to be proactive as opposed to
Right.
catching up.
Right, and it's a rare thing nowadays, because even some of our neighboring districts are really suffering right now because they're laying off staff, they're confronted with building closures and that sort of thing. So we're very careful to make sure that we let our people in our community know how grateful we are for their support and for the smart way in which people have approached managing the town.
Yeah. One of the most wonderful things about our school system, of course, is our band.
Ah, yes, yes.
It's my favorite, one of my favorite things. I had
Yeah.
two boys that were involved with the band over the years.
Yeah.
And so I've done a lot of traveling. I was able to go to China with them, and Washington and,
Right.
and Florida a few times, New York. And now we're off to California.
Big doings.
Yeah.
Big doings. It's one of the things I had the opportunity to speak at the banquet and then the Rose Bowl parade announcement. And one of the things that really struck me about that is we talk about finding authentic ways to teach our students how to handle some of those life lessons, those life situations. I mean, think about the pressure and think about what those students are going to have to overcome. They're going to perform on live television. They're going to march over 5 miles in what is the most prestigious parade that I can imagine. What an incredible opportunity. I mean, there may be things in their lives after this that they have to deal with, where they might be sort of nervous and they'll think, yeah, I marched in the Rose Bowl parade. How hard can this
Yeah,
be?
really,
Right?
billions of people watch me.
Billions, literally shown,
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
So just such a great opportunity for our kids. Neat learning opportunity.
Yeah. And Mr. Susi does a fabulous job with the
Oh yeah.
trip planning and getting everybody there and getting everybody home. It's amazing.
He and his staff. It was fun for me to watch. There was one day during band camp I went over for a while, and he was up in the box at the track field, and I just went up and I just sort of very quietly sort of settled in next to him. He kind of waved me into the box, and I had a chance just to watch the inner workings of a rehearsal and practice and everything. And he and his staff, and Serge Bolio and some of the other folks who are involved in that, it's a finely tuned machine.
Yep.
I mean, they really understand how to facilitate a group of that size, and not a moment's wasted. Very, very organized.
Yeah,
It's easy to see if you just sit and watch. It's very easy to see why they've been so successful.
And I know you've had an opportunity to see the halftime show.
I have.
Isn't it fabulous?
It's great. It's very funny to watch for me. As I said, having played college football and having been a part of high school athletics and other places, the halftime is usually when everyone runs out and uses the restroom or goes to get a slice of pizza or something like that. No one moves.
Nope.
Everybody knows what they're there for. Halftime arrives, and
Right.
I think it even gets a little more crowded. So,
Well, we do have a nice football team this year too. So
yeah, it's been fun to watch.
It's been fun to watch the third and fourth quarter as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do enjoy the halftime, I gotta say. So opening of schools went well.
We had a smooth opening, in all of our schools. Teachers did some great work over the summer, and we're working with a new math program in our elementary schools. Really had some nice PD work this past summer. We've done a lot of training around that, and some new folks, new faces, not just one face moving from one office to the other, but we have a lot of new folks in the district office.
Yeah.
And we were sort of prepared for some bumps in the road, and I mean, it's a credit to the staff. It's a credit to staff and to the
We have a great administration, across all of the schools.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was seamless.
Yeah.
You always hear when you're becoming a young administrator that if you do your job and you work hard, it looks like it's seamless. And I know our building administrators worked real hard.
Right, they do.
To make everything appear seamless, and it was a smooth opening.
Yep. We have something very exciting coming up, the College and Career Day, which is a district-wide.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a day. It's organized around the fall administration of the school day PSAT, which is 8, 9, 10, and 11th grade. And it's been fun over the last couple of years to develop. Of course, Nate Greenberg kind of ushered that in a few years ago, and our staff just kind of took to it. And even from kindergarten on up, all of our students are engaged in different types of career exploration, or I know the kindergartners will dress up.
Right. As what do I want to be when I grow up?
When I grow up, which I always say I wish they had done that when I was a kid. I think I probably would have dressed up as like a superhero or something like that. They're much more realistic.
What makes you think as superintendent of school you're not a superhero?
No, I'm not going to claim that. I'm not going to claim that. But it is fun to watch them really dive in and engage and talk a little bit about that. I know particularly even elementary and middle school, at that age, they don't often stop and think about it, or if they do, it's kind of maybe I might like to, and it's sort of, there isn't a whole lot of thought about it, but I actually saw some of the elementary presentations last year, and there were engineers, we had people from biotechnology, from a lot of the companies in the area that came in and spoke and explained what they did for a living.
Right. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this year especially. I'm in 6th grade, and we're having a panel of, do you remember What's My Line?
I do.
Yeah. So the learners will have to ask these people questions and have to guess what their jobs are, and will the real pilot please stand up, that kind of a thing.
Right.
And then they'll go on to have a conversation about what the job entails and what the education. But those are be the types of questions. Did you have to go to school for 4 years? Did you have to take professional development beyond those 4 years? How much did it cost you to become that? To educate yourself in that job.
Right.
And then after that, are there any other alternatives? How else could we get this done? What do you believe? Because I know a lot of students now are thinking, let's just go to community colleges, get this undergraduate done, and then put the money in the master's degree.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that we're sort of hoping for as an outcome here, is that the focus of students coming out. In a lot of ways, students come out of high school and the 4-year college expectation is just sort of like, it almost becomes 13th grade. They just move on.
Right.
And there isn't a lot of thought, and there isn't a lot of reflection given to what is it that you'd like to do. And if we can start that a little earlier, get kids to explore it, ask good questions, then it's less a matter of, I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do it, and it's more a matter of, what I really love, or what I think I'd be really good at. And then they can design their educational experience from there.
Right. Well, I know as early as 6th grade they do interest surveys.
Right.
And then throughout the high school they use Naviance, and that follows them through and hones in exactly on the kind of things that you think you'd be interested in, and what you are showing proficiency in with the classes that you're taking, and how well you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's I'm looking forward to that day. It's going to be it's really good.
It's always a great day.
Yeah, it is. What else is going on in our school district right now?
Oh boy, it's as we've gotten through as you come up to the end of September, this is the first chance you have to kind of breathe and stop and get things.
But how quick this month went, huh?
Boy, it went fast.
Yeah.
It went fast. We had a lot of things going on. You know, as far as us on the procedural end of things, we're really, as you know, as we've been discussing, we're just starting to ramp up for our budget season. We just got here, but we're already talking about that, and a lot of the work we're doing is around growth and how to grow wisely. As far as the students and the work that they're doing, our learners, as we say, you know, this really for them is a key time because they're now into the ritual of school.
Right.
You take that time off in the summer to kind of rest and refresh and do other things. It takes a few weeks to come back. We've done some assessment early on in our elementary and middle grades with iReady, which is a computer adaptive program, as you know. That gives diagnostic information to our teachers so that we can give learners tasks that are appropriate to them. We get asked a lot, well, don't we test them a lot? Are we testing them too much? The interesting thing about iReady is that it's actually embedded in what they do in the classroom. It's less intrusive.
Right.
We're not pulling them out of class or anything. They're actually activities that are right on the computer. And on the back side of it, teachers have a dashboard that almost can present them with different strengths and weaknesses for each individual student. So I know that's been underway the last first couple of weeks of school.
Right. And, you know, there's all this learner-paced education that's going on in well, in the middle school. I'm sure it's happening other places as well.
Certainly elementary too,
Right.
Yep.
Which is very exciting because it's really putting the, you know, the teacher in a different role, which is wonderful. They can facilitate and allow our learners to become more self-sufficient and, you know, better learners themselves. So.
Yeah, really one of the reasons I get asked from time to time, the people in your staff keep saying learners instead of students. Why is that? Is that some new trend or fad? Really what it is a more active term.
Right.
Right. A student doesn't necessarily learn anything, right? They're a passive receptor, whereas a learner is more. It's more of an active role where students take responsibility themselves for it, which is what we're trying to develop.
Right.
As we have these tools put in place, these pieces of technology that we can use to gain specific information, you're right. It puts a teacher in a position where they will know, boy, these 4 students in my class really need some extra work learning this one thing. So I'm going to design the classroom in such a way where maybe there's one group that's reading silently on their own. There might be another group that's doing some sort of a task where they're working independently. Now I can take this other group and give them what they really need, which might only be 15 or 20 minutes of reinforcement on one specific concept. But much more of a diagnostic mindset. They're thinking about what students need and then structuring the environment, the learning environment so that they're able to address some of those things.
It makes a very exciting classroom.
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
It really does. And as you know, we're keeping a close eye on growth, on individual student growth through that. That really needs to be our focus moving forward, is not just, I mean, so many times, I know when I was a kid, the focus was the bell curve. You know, where did you fall on the curve?
Right.
We know that that's not the most efficient way to facilitate student learning anymore.
Right.
We know that it really is about how much each student grows during a given period of time. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing right now.
And that's going to be a different rate depending on the child because it's all different. Okay.
Yep.
Just before we close, I wanted to talk about Twitter. Are you
Yes.
going to be tweeting as much as Superintendent Greenberg did?
It's a
and
tall
is
order.
still, you know, he's still on there.
He's still out there.
Yeah.
I have no choice. You
Yeah.
know, I have the expectation has been set. Gonna put the word out. I know one of Nate's many tools as far as expanding his Twitter audience was telling all the kids at high school that he would tweet out snow days early when he would, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll tweet
Right.
out when we're going to
4
cancel
in the morning.
school
I'll
at
tell
4.
you don't have to come.
There you go,
You have to
4 in the
wake up
morning.
so I can tell you, but then you can go back
We'll
to
tweet
sleep.
that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really nice resource for us to communicate with the community, but also for us to be a part of a larger dialogue of a professional community. I know I follow a lot of different researchers and whatnot, and really have access to some cutting edge thinking
Right.
that way. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my desktop.
Yeah. Well, what's nice about all of the schools doing it, though, is that it allows the community members to see what their kiddos are doing
Right.
in live, in real time. And
Right.
and it can stimulate the conversations that they can have with their children, too, when they come home from school.
Right.
It's not, what'd you do today? Nothing. Oh, yeah,
Nothing.
really? Because, on Twitter it said that you, solved world problems here.
Right.
So what's going on?
Right.
So I like it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it very much. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to
Absolutely.
see you're going to be out there tweeting just as like our
Right.
former.
Tweet and retweet.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
There we go.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it
Thanks.
very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
And we'll get together again next month.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. The beauty of Londonderry is in its citizens. Be informed and be a voice. Please come to meetings. Let your voice be heard. I'm Mary Wing Soares, and this has been Transparency in Government. Thank you for joining us.